Hello, welcome to a new episode of Geek Lunch Meet. I'm host Chris. As usual, apologies for the lack of regular updates recently. Just been really busy, a lot of family stuff going on, but hopefully now we can get back a bit more back on schedule. And what I wanted to do in this video was take a look at Alien Romulus. It's been just over a week now that it's been out. I've had some time to think about it and let it percolate in my brain. And I thought it was time to dissect the movie and just see what bits of it worked and what bits of it really didn't work for me. And if you like this video, don't forget, hit the thumbs up, helps us out a great deal, helps the video get seen by a lot more people. And if you're not already subscribed, why not smash that subscribe button? We'd absolutely love to have you as a subscriber. And I should say, spoiler alert, we'll be going into minute spoilers for the entire movie in the course of this video. There's really no other way to discuss the things that worked and didn't work in the movie without going into spoilers. So you have been warned. So as I say, it's been just over a week since Alien Romulus was released, and it got pretty much overwhelming positive reviews. And as I film this, I think its worldwide gross is about $225 million against a budget of $80 million. So it's going great guns at the box office as well. And I'll come back to its budget in a little while when we discuss some things that happen sort of towards the end of the movie. So Aliens is a franchise I love. Thinking about it, it's very much Aliens, Terminator, Predator. So all franchises I absolutely love from sort of the late 70s going through the 80s, obviously up to now. But when you think about it, they're all pretty much the same. The first two films in the franchises are pretty much universally adored, and then everything after then is very much a case of your mileage may vary. Fan consensus, it pretty much is that the first two movies great, and then sort of everything else is a sort of a bit hit and miss. With the Predator movies, we've suddenly got the big upswing at the end with Prey being released, which everyone pretty much adored. And it was hoped that Fede Alvarez was going to be able to do the same thing with Aliens. And I think he pretty much succeeded. A lot of the film is fantastic and really works. And then there are just some bits that really do pull you out of the movie. And say the ending is the bit that most people who've got any problems with the film, that's where their issues are. And I'm definitely in that camp. And we'll get to the ending in a little while. So let's start with what the filmmakers got right. Now, the actual look of the film is fantastic. The visuals, the sound, the music, it's all very, very Alien. They've absolutely nailed the look of the original film. And they said in all the press before the film got released that obviously it's set between Alien and Aliens and it was going to bridge the gap in the technology. And they've done an absolutely fantastic job of making the film look and sound like it's set in between those two movies. And I was quite surprised when at the beginning of the film they actually find the wreckage of the Nostromo, and that's what sort of kickstarts the whole storyline with them sort of finding this big, I assume it's like a sort of fossilized cocoon. It's the alien that Ripley blew out of the lifeboat. And I don't know if just over time, sort of some sort of crud has accumulated around it, or whether it's actually sort of taken debris from the Nostromo and built itself a sort of cocoon. As I say, I was quite surprised, and I actually really like the idea that they've, it's the alien from the original movie that sort of kickstarts, say, the whole thing. And then sort of towards the end of the film, it actually sort of segs more towards Aliens, and the pulse rifles, sort of prototype of the pulse rifles appear that they use. And I really liked the idea they've got this aiming assist, so you've not just got the fact that you've got two teenagers who've never fired a gun before in their life suddenly being able to hit everything. It's got this actual this auto assist function to allow people like that just to use the weapon. You literally just point the gun and pull the trigger, and it does the rest of it itself. So that was one idea that I really did like. I also love the fact, and this you could pick up from the trailer, was that the Alien Isolation video game was also a big inspiration. There were lots of shots in the trailer of sort of going down the corridors and things like that looked exactly like the Alien Isolation game, which makes sense when you think about it. The game is set on the Sevastopol space station. Alien Romulus is set on the Romulus and Remus space station, and they've clearly modelled a lot of it after the game. And in fact, you can see the save points in the game are these like emergency telephones up on the wall, and that something bad's always going to happen if you manage to get to a save point just before something kicks off. And exactly the same in the film. If you look carefully, you can see these sort of emergency telephones on the wall of the Romulus station, and sure enough, they do appear usually just before some shit's about to go down. So it's a nice little Easter egg for fans of Alien Isolation there. And also some of the shots, there's a shot where the out of control the shuttlecraft that they go up to the station in, as it's out of control and it's flying along outside the station, and there's all light coming in through these sort of slatted windows. The shot looks exactly identical to something similar in Isolation. And then in particular at the end, when Rain puts on the compression suit and she puts the helmet on, there's a point of view shot from inside the helmet as she's climbing up a ladder, exactly the same of Alien Isolation. Is a first person game. In the game you play as Amanda Ripley, and so she puts this compression suit on at the end. As I say, it looks absolutely identical to some of the shots in Alien Romulus. So yeah, really nice nod to the game there. I also enjoy the fact that we got a sort of addition to the Alien life cycle. Obviously in the first film we saw the egg, we saw the facehugger, the chest burster, and then the creature we just assume sheds its skin and is fully grown. In Aliens we got a sort of extension to the life cycle. We saw that the eggs come from the queen. In Romulus they add in this stage where after the chest burster has come out, that it sort of cocoons itself, in this big blob thing stuck on the wall, and it matures and grows to full size, inside this cocoon. So yeah, I thought it was really nice to see something extra. It's not a retcon. It doesn't sort of interfere with any of the previous movies. It's just something we've not seen before. It makes perfect sense for the chestburster to go from this thing about this big, obviously, to a full-size alien warrior. It makes perfect sense. It has to sort of undergo this metamorphosis, and a cocoon, does make perfect sense. It also allows for some great shots when the guy shoves the cattle prod in and electrocutes it, and the acid comes down. It's the first time we actually really see someone killed by just the acid just melting their body parts. Some good body horror from Fede Alvarez in that part. And talking of things like that, that was another part I really enjoyed, the fact that it's a practical effects used mainly as much as they could. And they went to Legacy Effects, which was Stan Winston Studios, who obviously did all the effects for Aliens. And they used Studio Gillis, which was Amalgamated Dynamics, who pretty much, I think, did all the Alien films since Aliens. So yeah, it's nice to see lots of full-size puppets always look better on screen. I also loved the android, Andy. I thought they did a really good job. It was fantastic. The way he's a sort of rundown android doesn't function properly. When they put the update module into him, into the port in his neck, so that he can sort of communicate with the station more, the change his character, where he suddenly become a company stooge who was working in the best interests of Weyland-Yutani. I thought that transformation was fantastic. I think it's David Johnson that played him, not an actor that I'm really familiar with. Yeah, he did an absolutely fantastic job depicting the sort of two sides of Andy. And yeah, in my opinion, one of the highlights of the film. And so yeah, talking about Android, we'll have to talk about Rook. And this is where we sort of move into the parts of the film that I didn't like as much. This sort of sits squarely in the middle. There are parts of it I loved, parts of it I didn't. So basically, when we meet Rook, he is an android who's been sort of ripped in half, very much like Bishop at the end of Aliens, and it is the same model as Ash from the original movie. And Rook is probably one of two things that will divide the audience completely. You either go with it or you won't. So again, it's that uncanny valley effect that we get by bringing back dead actors and recreating them using CGI, deepfake, that sort of thing. They did get an actor who looks a bit like Ian Holm to stand in for Rook, and obviously they've CGI'd over his face to make him look like Ian Holm. And like just about every time we've seen one of these, in some shots it works, and other shots it just absolutely doesn't work. In the best shots, it's pretty convincing that is Ian Holm you're watching. But I would say probably in the majority of the shots, it looks like a CGI Ian Holm. And it's definitely going to be up to each individual viewer how much that draws them out of the movie. As I say, bits of it for me worked, and then I just sort of went with it. I don't know why they didn't go with in Alien 3 when Ripley gets what's left of Bishop. Now, obviously, that is very much just parts of his face. I think it's in his shoulder and his arm, and it's just a prosthetic. And she gets him back up and running. Well, I think that's done really well. He's obviously a glitchy droid that's completely busted up, and the animatronic effect works. I maybe would have gone with something like that instead of just having Rook sort of cut in half. They could have done some more. That maybe the alien had sort of clawed down his face. And you could have done it by using an animatronic. You could then have put some CG, sort of deepfake stuff over that if you'd had a bit more of the white milky blood that the androids have. But no, they obviously have gone with just recreating him, in his entirety in CG. And as I say, that's definitely a case of your mileage may vary. I liked the character of Rook. I liked the idea that it was a synthetic who based on the same model as Ash. As I say, some of the shots really worked. A lot of them didn't. So if that really draws you out of the movie, I can see that a lot of people might not like that at all. But it's pretty par for the course now, and it's always inconsistent. Tarkin in Rogue One, and then Leia at the end, and Indy at the beginning of A Dial of Destiny. Again, some shots are really good, and other shots just look like bad CGI. I wish they'd use it a bit more sparingly until they can get more consistent with it. Probably the best one so far has been young Mark Hamill in the Book of Boba Fett episode. That's pretty much spot on. And one thing they do well is the voices. They take all the dialogue from an actor, feed it into the AI, and then give it the new dialogue, and it just works really well. It sounded like Ian Holm was doing all the vocals. They did the same with James L. Jones as the voice of Vader in the Kenobi TV show. But yeah, getting dialogue to sound like an actor, they've pretty much got that down to a T now. But it's just the visuals that they need to work on. So from there, we'll go into the bits that I didn't like as much. Fan service. I don't mind fan service, but there was a lot of it. Now, obviously, we've said, it looks and sounds very much like Alien. I've not got a problem with that. It's the setting of the film. It's set just after Alien. And of course, this is sort of a soft, it's not a reboot. It's a sort of legacy sequel. It's a legacy sequel to Alien, a legacy prequel to Aliens. It's not as much of a legacy sequel as, say, The Force Awakens. You've got a whole new bunch of characters, except for Rook, who obviously looks like Ian Holmes. You could sort of argue he's a legacy character. But the fact that the look of the film is based on those films, I don't have a problem with that. It's more the absolute fan service that goes over the top. And most of it was in the dialogue where Rook says, "I can't lie to you about your chances, but you have my sympathies," which is the exact dialogue lifted from what Ash says in the first movie. And he's saying, "I prefer the term artificial person," the same as Bishop from Aliens. Rain doing a sign-off at the end of the film. This is Rain, the last surviving crew member. Exactly the same, obviously, as Ripley from the first movie. But the most egregious one for me is when Andy has the pulse rifle and he's shooting the alien and he says, "Get away from her." And I thought, oh, okay, they've done that line, but leave it there. Then he fires the gun, and then it's just really badly. I don't know. It just sounds odd. It's oddly edited. He leaves a pause and then says, "You bitch." It just made me groan a bit. It's just so completely. It's that Leonardo DiCaprio meme where he's pointing at the screen and said, "Oh, he said the thing," and it's like, yeah, he said the thing. It's also completely out of character for Andy. That's probably the most egregious part of it. It's not something that he would say. So yeah, it's just chucked in like that. And other bits as well, they're just too much fan service. I think they could have dialed back on it, certainly. The other thing I didn't like, this probably personal preference, was the black goo turning up from Prometheus. I wouldn't mind it so much if it was just being used as a MacGuffin, or that's what the company is after, this the black goo that they think can help extend people's lives. Probably wouldn't have had a problem with that. It's the fact that it then gets used, similar to the way it was in Prometheus, to create new life forms at the ending, which I'll go into in a minute. I could have done without that, but that probably depends on sort of how much you like Prometheus as a movie as well. I didn't mind the fact that they mentioned the Prometheus mission, and that sort of this is why they'd gone out to find the wreck of the Nostromo. That sort of set up the idea. That bit I liked. It was more just, let's say, the black goo. It seemed inconsistent in its use in Prometheus, and as I say, I just didn't need it to turn back up again in the franchise. So this probably brings us to my major gripe, which is sort of the last 15 minutes of the film, when the black goo is injected into the pregnant woman, and we get this new hybrid creature that's part alien, part human, and part engineer from Prometheus and Covenant. And I could just really done without it. I say they took all the best parts of Alien and Aliens, and the film was going great, and then they brought in the worst parts of Prometheus and Alien Resurrection. No one likes the newborn alien at the end of Resurrection, and we basically get a little sort of extended version of it turn up, now mixed in with the engineers as well. So for me, it's the ending that stops it being an absolute classic. I was absolutely loving the film, the way it looked. fan service aside, right up to the ending. So I really disliked the hybrid that we got, and part of me wonders if this was a constraint of the smaller budget. So yeah, that was something else I wanted to go into. It was obvious from the trailer. There was a lot of facehugger action in the trailer, and there's a lot of facehuggers in the movie. I was quite surprised by how little there was of the actual alien itself, who sort of didn't turn up to quite a way into the movie. And that's not a problem. I watched Aliens again the other day. We don't see the first alien for over an hour into the movie, so that's not too much of an issue. But then when we did get the alien, we didn't get much of it, and it was still much more sort of facehugger based. And again, I'm wondering if this is because Romulus was originally going to be for Hulu, the streaming channel, the same as Predator Prey. And I think they liked what was going on, and they said, no, we're going to release this theatrically. But Fede Alvarez did say in an interview they did not increase his budget. So I think his budget was only 80 million, which for a film, that looks as good as it does. He did a damn good job with the budget. But I do wonder if, towards the end, that's why we didn't get lots and lots of aliens. We didn't get to see a queen, anything like that. I wonder if maybe it was a budget concern. They just went with this hybrid alien at the end. I don't know. So I think I will say the big sort of climax of the movie. It doesn't feel as huge. Certainly not like Aliens. You could argue it's much more reminiscent of the ending of the original Alien. So I suppose there is that. But I wonder if it was a budget concern. But I think from reading sort of people's opinions online, it definitely seems to be the ending is the thing that people, if they've got a problem in the movie, it generally tends to be the end. But yeah, so overall, I think it was a really good film. Just sort of let down a bit by a shonky ending. But it does leave the door open for more sequels or even more standalone movies. I personally would love to see Rain meet up with Amanda Ripley and lean into that whole story of Amanda trying to track down her mother, not knowing where she is. I think that would really work as a storyline, so it'd be interesting to see where they go. Of course, getting the TV show next year, Alien Earth, coming from Noah Hawley. Now that is set before everything else, set before Prometheus, I believe, and obviously as the title says, it's set on Earth. I'm slightly worried that obviously at that point you wouldn't have thought we'd have met the aliens, and Ridley Scott is an executive producer, and they have talked about the fact that a lot of it is to do with the creation of the Weyland-Yutani company. And synthetics, the creation of the androids. It does worry me that it's going to be a bit more like Prometheus and Covenant and be more about the androids and the actual aliens themselves, which will be a shame, but we will see what happens with that. Yeah, Alien Romulus, it seems to be going well with the general public, so yeah, hopefully it leads to some more movies and some more Predator Prey-like movies. They've sort of it was sort of hinted in a conversation that Fede Alvarez had that he'd love to get together with the director of Prey and do a new Alien Predator reboot, which I'm all for. If they just take the original 4-issue comic book series, which was absolutely fantastic, and just make that into a movie, would be brilliant. But yeah, let me know your feelings. Did Rook and his dodgy CGI take you out of the film? Did you like the hybrid alien turning up at the end, a la Alien Resurrection? Or like me, did you think that you'd rather have seen just a sort of normal alien or something else, even if it was just sort of a standard alien or two chasing it onto the ship? Let me know in the comments below. Always good to hear from you. So thanks for watching. Take care. Until next time, eat geek and be merry.